I am in Munich, Germany, and in this video we'll explore the area around the central square of the city, the Marienplatz. We will enter through the medieval Karlstor. The appearance of this gate has changed significantly since it was first constructed as part of the second ring of city walls around 1302. Munich was heavily bombed by American and British forces in 1944. Over 50% of the buildings in the city were damaged and thousands were killed and wounded, so sadly many of the historic buildings around here were destroyed. Some were reconstructed, but they are mixed in with many post-war buildings. This is the Marienplatz, the central square of Munich. The Marienplatz is dominated by the magnificent Neue Rathaus, the new town hall of Munich. The town hall is a monumental neo-Gothic masterpiece built throughout the late 19th century in different sections. Its design was inspired by the authentically medieval city hall of Brussels, Belgium, as well as the new neo-Gothic Rathaus in Vienna that was built slightly before this one. Munich's Rathaus was designed by Georg Halbereiser, a student of Friedrich von Schmidt who had just designed the new Vienna Rathaus. The massive structure was surprisingly not too badly damaged by the Allied air raids. There is a Marian column in the center of the Marienplatz, topped by a golden statue of the Virgin Mary. The column was erected here in 1638 during the 30 Years' War to commemorate the end of the Swedish occupation in 1632, as well as Sweden's significant defeat at the Battle of Nordlingen in 1634, after which they finally withdrew from southern Germany. These Marian columns were often built after a bubonic plague outbreak. Munich did happen to suffer a severe Black Death epidemic in 1634, which killed about 15,000 residents, so the people of Munich had been through a lot at that time. The Rathaus clock tower is 85 meters tall, that's about 260 feet. The Rathaus also has a famous Glockenspiel, which was added to the clock tower in 1908. The Glockenspiel portrays the story of the lavish 2-week-long wedding party of Duke Wilhelm V to Renata of Lorraine back in 1568. The top level of the Glockenspiel uses figures to recreate a joust between knights of Bavaria and Lorraine during the wedding, which actually took place here at the Marienplatz. The Bavarian wins every time. The lower level has a parade of Coopers doing a Cooper's dance, depicting an urban legend when the Coopers of Munich started dancing in the streets after a 1517 plague outbreak to tell everyone that it was finally safe to come out. Here are some excerpts from the nearly 15-minute long Glockenspiel show, utilizing 32 century-old life-size mechanical figures and 43 bells ringing out of Europe's 5th largest carillon.
Austria always lose. Any Austrian sister? Alright guys, I'm going to call it.
In the 1920s, Munich became the hotbed of early National Socialist activity, and about 100 years ago in 1923, Over 2,000 Nazis attempted a coup d'etat here with the Beer Hall Putsch. Starting out from a nearby beer hall, they failed on a plan to take the city councilors hostage, but still marched on the Odeonplatz and the Marienplatz. The failed coup was the beginning point down a dark path in German and world history. On the east side of the Marienplatz is the Alte Rathaus, the old town hall of Munich. The current design of the structure was completed in the late 15th century, and the old town hall is currently a toy museum. In the grand hall of this building, Joseph Goebbels gave a famous speech which is now known as the Prelude to the Kristallnacht. Here is a statue of Juliet Capulet from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. It looks like people rub her bronze breast for good luck. Mere steps away from the Marienplatz is the Alter Peter, St. Peter's Church. This is the oldest parish church in Munich. In fact, there had been a pre-Merovingian church on this site well before Munich was founded in 1158. In the late 12th century, a Romanesque church was built at this location, but it burned down soon after that. So in 1368, this new church was finally completed. It was redesigned in the early 1600s with a Renaissance-style steeple top. I wanted to stop in this church in particular because there is a rather unique relic inside. The early Baroque interior of St. Peter's Church is magnificent. Many of Munich's greatest 17th century artists and artisans worked on the interior of this church. The high altar features a golden statue of St. Peter. St. Peter's was damaged in the World War II firebombing, but was fully restored to its former glory. Thankfully, much of the original art survived as well. Inside that box lies the jeweled skeleton of Saint Muniditia. Muniditia is known as the patron saint of spinsters, who are unmarried women beyond the age of 23. In the year 310 AD, it is believed that she was martyred for her Christian beliefs and beheaded with a hatchet. Her remains were placed in a Roman catacomb, and they were in there for over 1,000 years, but she was removed in 1675 and gifted to Munich. She has been on display at this church ever since. Here in Munich, the skeleton was sewn into a transparent body stocking and placed in some golden clothing adorned with gilt and jewels. Even the teeth were covered over by jewels. She was also given glass eyeballs. Saint Muniditia holds a container of dried blood representing her martyrdom. Not sure whose or what's blood that is. That is fascinating. And believe it or not, there are more bejeweled skeletons out there. Now this is most likely not Muniditia's skeleton, as is the case with most jeweled skeleton relics. In Rome, they would have just taken some random person's remains out of the catacombs to create the relic, and would send it to a community somewhere in the Holy Roman Empire amidst the Counter-Reformation. After the era of the Enlightenment, the practice of these decorated skeletons was found to be a bit embarrassing, so Muniditia was boarded up out of view for several decades in the early 19th century. There's another relic box. Now I am going to climb to the top of St. Peter's Bell Tower. Here are some of the bells. The Altar Peter is home to the oldest clocks and bells in Munich. Alright, after climbing 306 steps, let's check out the views nearly 300 feet or 90 meters over Munich. This tower offers a terrific view of the Marienplatz below, as well as the mighty Rathaus. That is the Frauenkirche, the Cathedral of Munich. It was consecrated in 1494 and has tremendous historical significance. Many members of the Wittelsbach family who ruled Bavaria for centuries are entombed in there. The gargantuan cathedral was heavily damaged by the World War II bombings, so much of that structure, including the roof, had to be entirely reconstructed. Way off in the distance, you can see the Olympiaturm Tower and the BMW headquarters. That's the Residence Palace with the English Garden in the distance. There's an open-air market down there with a traditional maypole. That is the Umadum, the world's largest mobile Ferris wheel. The views from the top of Altar Peter are awesome. Though it costs a few euros, it is definitely a worthwhile climb. While I did not have much time here in Munich, I did stop inside the German Hunting and Fishing Museum inside this old Augustinian church, which was surprisingly interesting. I have a separate video tour on that linked in the description. Munich is a wonderful city. I definitely wish I had more time to explore the history and attractions, but I'll come back sometime. As mentioned, I did get to visit a few other museums here in Munich, including some amazing art museums, so take a look at those videos as well as my hundreds of other travelogues featuring cities, historic locations, museums, and much more here in Germany, as well as across Europe and America. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching!